Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Donna Satherwaite, Vice Chair of the Board for the Juanita C. Grant Foundation. I am joined by our founder and CEO, S. Orlean Grant. Today, we wanted to have a real conversation about the work of the Juanita C. Grant Foundation, how this journey has evolved over the years, and why connection and community matter now more than ever.
And that idea of moving forward together has really become central to everything we do. So much of this work started by simply listening to people, hearing what they were experiencing, what they needed, and where they were struggling to feel connected.
And I think people feel that when they engage with the foundation. It's not just about programs or services, it's really about relationships and community. Orlean, you've been leading this work for years now. When you think back to the early community conversations, what really stands out to you?
Honestly, we learned so much by just being present in the community since 2014. We spent time in churches, workforce programs, wellness conversations, community events, large gatherings, and smaller listening sessions. And no matter where we were, people kept coming back to similar themes. People were searching for connection. They wanted meaningful communication, genuine support, and reassurance that they still mattered, that their voices, experiences, and contributions continue to hold value.
And I think that's important because sometimes organizations focus only on delivering services, but what you kept hearing was something much deeper.
Exactly. We started realizing that social connection, communication, and community all intersect. When people feel connected, trust grows naturally. When communication is intentional, people engage more openly. And when the community is strong, people begin helping one another move forward. And that's
That's really where the three pillars of Forward Together started taking shape, right?
absolutely. The three pillars support our Forward Together umbrella,
So, can we talk a little about those pillars?
because they really guide everything we do. Of course, the first pillar is forward wellness, and that really focuses on taking a holistic, practical approach to wellness, including mental wellness and emotional well-being as we all move through life and age together. What we've learned, and honestly what many of us have experienced personally, is that people truly thrive when they feel emotionally, socially, and mentally supported. The second pillar is forward unity, which is all about creating intentional, sustainable social connections across generations. We know social connectedness matters at every stage of life, and we believe no one should ever feel invisible, disconnected, or isolated within their own community. And then the third pillar is the Forward Village Connector. This initiative provides certified Village Connector experience ambassadors who help older adults rebuild confidence and social skills so they can reconnect with friends, family, and the communities around them. It's really about helping people feel seen, valued, and connected again.
And what I love about this framework is that all three pillars recognize something really important. We're all moving forward through life, aging, growing, and building community together. There's so much wisdom, perspective, and lived experience that generations can share when we create intentional spaces for connection.
Exactly. Each generation brings something meaningful to the table. And when people begin listening to one another and learning from one another, communities connect and become stronger.
Orlean, I'd love to talk about our Village Connector Experience program because I think it really captures the heart of the Foundation's mission. You launched the program in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic when so many people were suddenly feeling disconnected and isolated. What made you realize there was such an urgent need for that kind of outreach?
During the pandemic, we saw very quickly just how deeply social isolation was affecting people, especially at both ends of the spectrum, younger and older generations. Practically overnight, many of us were separated from family, friends, daily routines, places of worship, community spaces, and the social interactions we had always counted on. And what really concerned me was realizing that isolation doesn't just affect people emotionally in the moment. Over time, it can impact confidence, communication, mental wellness, and even a person's overall sense of connection to the world around them. We began to see how easy it was for people to slowly withdraw, lose touch, or feel disconnected from their communities. And that's something that can have lasting effects if we don't intentionally rebuild those connections.
And I think people sometimes underestimate just how deeply isolation can affect someone.
Absolutely. That's why the Village Connector Experience program focused so intentionally on social connection. As we do with all our programs and services, we researched the best models to answer this challenge. We chose a structured outreach call program that not only assessed the individual's level of isolation, but also their strengths. We built upon those strengths with VCE ambassadors trained to help our members re-engage and re-emerge into their social network.
And over time, you began seeing real impact from those consistent connections, right?
We really did. Since starting 5 years ago, we learned so much through both the conversations and the data we collect. We saw people rebuilding social confidence, reconnecting with family and friends. We also experienced the VCE ambassadors conducting the calls have a transformational understanding of how to connect and support our VCE members with intentional goal setting to assist them to re-engage in their communities. And looking back now, it's incredible to see how something launched during the uncertainty of 2020 continued growing over the years. Today, the Village Connector Experience program has expanded its presence into 22 states, including Puerto Rico, having trained over 42 trained volunteers and served 2,100 individuals since its inception. And for us, every number represents a real person, a real conversation, and a real connection. And I think
I think that's what makes the program so impactful. It wasn't simply about reducing isolation, it was about helping people feel connected, seen, heard, and valued again.
another initiative that really stands out to me is our Workforce 50 Plus Intensive Refresh Bootcamp program. This was a long sought after service we wanted to provide the community. In interviewing each applicant, it was important for me to understand the challenges and aspirations each individual brought to the program. Donna, you worked closely with many of the participants as a facilitator. What stayed with you most from that experience?
What really stayed with me was the transformation in confidence. Of course, participants gained practical tools, resumes, interviewing skills, workplace communication, and strategies to compete in today's work market and secure employment.
Yes, a few years later, we are still seeing the long-term impact of our programs and services.
Yes, people still talk about how the experience helped rebuild their confidence and self esteem. Some participants came in questioning themselves or doubting what they still had to offer. And over time, you could actually hear the shift in how they spoke about themselves from negative to empowered.
I'm hearing similar things from participants I run into at events years later. It wasn't only about employment, it was also about helping people find their voice and believe in their own sense of possibility and resilience.
Exactly. And I think that connects so closely to the Foundation's broader mission to strengthen communities by building solution focused programs across the lifespan of older adults, ensuring everyone has access to purpose, protection, and possibility as we age.
Yes, I agree. When people feel supported and confident, they begin moving forward differently, intentionally, with meaning.
And none of this work happens without people. So I'd love to talk a little about volunteerism because I think volunteerism looks very different today than it did years ago.
Yes, it does. And we know that people have different schedules, different levels of responsibilities, and are in different stages of life. That's why we talk about both purpose volunteering and micro volunteering as options.
And I really love that distinction because it reminds people that you don't have to commit to everything to contribute something meaningful.
Exactly. Purpose-driven volunteering may be mentoring others, helping guide community initiatives, supporting workshops, or serving in meaningful ongoing roles that create lasting impact. Micro-volunteering can take many forms, helping with a single event, making outreach calls, providing virtual support, assisting with small projects, sharing professional expertise, or simply contributing your time and talents in meaningful ways where they're needed most.
And I think one of the most powerful ideas is that people often already have gifts, experiences, wisdom, or talents they can share. Sometimes it starts with simply asking, what can I contribute in a way that feels both meaningful and manageable in my life?
Exactly. Community grows when people recognize they already have something valuable to offer.
As we close, I want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us today as we continue building the journey forward together. We are inviting you to become part of the movement with us.
Whether you're a volunteer, community member, organization, advocate, supporter, or potential funding partner, there's a place for you in this work.
And we genuinely want to hear from people because community voices help shape where we go next.
Because one conviction really can spark a movement.
And when people move forward together intentionally,
Communities become stronger, embracing all generations. Thank you for spending this time with us. We hope today's conversation inspires you to stay connected, stay engaged, and continue reaching out to each other in meaningful ways. And if you feel called to be part of this movement, we would truly love to hear from you and welcome you to join us in the Forward Together journey.